Good morning and welcome to the training Introduction to Pathways and Basecamp. It's more or less a pathways training. Basecamp refers to the location where the actual pathways program is located on the website. The agenda for today, it's a little change. Eldred is not here yet. We have first two guest speakers introducing a new initiative of District 7. Program Quality Director Eldred Brown was scheduled to be here, and Pathways Chair Gwendolyn Avington is here to introduce that new initiative. Afterwards, I will give a short presentation, an overview of Pathways. The idea is, with this new initiative, to present how I interpret the new role, the VP of Pathways, and that the main role is to onboard new members or old legacy members and introduce Pathways to them. I will do a quick online demonstration in Basecamp, introduce a Pathways project catalog, which I think is a valuable tool. After the presentation then, to dive in deeper into Pathways and for you to ask questions, everything related to Pathways. I'm very happy and grateful that James Wantz is here to answer all your questions, as he is the District 7 expert, and as he told us on Tuesday, he's now going international and becomes an international Pathways trainer. To get started, I would like to give the forum to our guest speaker, Dr. Oh, is she here? Gwendolyn, there you are. Please welcome Pathways Chair for District 7, Gwendolyn Avington.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Rudy, for letting me have the floor for a few minutes. As you mentioned, two new initiatives. My role is new this year as Pathways Chair. I have a Pathways Committee that has just been completed yesterday, the deadline that Eldred Brown set forth. So several very, very knowledgeable people in Pathways will be helping to train. We will do that in 3 different ways in small group settings. We will also have webinars that the BPPs, when they are in place, which Eldred's vision is for them to be there by September 30th. They will then bring things to the district committee from their divisions that there may need to be trainings. So then those people that are assigned to those divisions will go out and set up a training. We also will have 4, one of which that has happened, webinars district-wide, like the one James Wantz did on July the 13th. So that all issues that are brought to the floor, the committee will discuss them and then take the most pertinent things in these sessions to get out to the District 7 at large. The BPPs, I don't see Eldred just yet, but that role is a club role. So ideally, we would like to have BPPs in every one of the 139 active clubs. They will be like the eyes and ears for the committee. What type of issues are going on inside your club? That way we will know how to formulate the small groups and the webinars so that everyone will reach full adoption of Pathways by year's end. We are here for you. Thank you, Rudy. Back to you.
Thank you. A little housekeeping rule I forgot to mention. Thank you, Gwendolyn. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking, so we can reduce the background noise. At this point, I would like to open the floor. Are there any specific questions from what you just heard to Gwendolyn? If you have Pathways questions, please hold them off till later for our Q&A session, but directly to that initiative, if you have any question, please go ahead. Phyllis.
This is Phyllis. Gwen, my question is, I also coach a club, which Cheryl McFadden is on the line today with that. can I recruit somebody from there, of course, with their permission, to be on the VPP group?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay, all right. I need to get back to them
Yeah.
about that. All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions at this point for Gwendolyn?
Rudy, this is a general question, if I could slip in really quick.
Sure.
Regarding Eldred, I know there was a new link that was sent out. Would you like me to text Eldred to make sure that he knows that there is a new link?
He
Please.
said he had international training today, so he may be waiting for that.
Oh, I see. So he's probably in the loop, but he's
Yeah.
dealing
Yeah, he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it because TI is doing their international trio officer training today.
got it. Okay. I won't trouble him on his cell phone then. Great. Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, then let's keep moving on. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Rudy Erbrich. I have been a Toastmaster since 2012. My home club is Gresham Toastmasters. And my motivation to give a pathways training and get more involved is that my club struggled, like many others, with the adoption and implementation of pathways. That had many, many reasons. For me personally, I was working towards my DTM under the legacy program, but the time, I believe, has come to help my club get more involved. So the basic question, if I have a new member as VP of Pathways, is what is Pathways? And it is, in the end, very similar to what the manual program, the legacy program was. It is an education program to help us learn by giving us more structure and by giving us certain projects to build upon to develop leadership, speaking skills, personal growth, and professional growth. I know one reason why I in the beginning struggled with Pathways. The original program was designed like a video game. So you had to unlock level 2 and 3 in order to move on without seeing where it all would lead. I know many people who like that kind of game idea. However, I'm a more introvert and a nerd. I always like to be on the 30,000 feet level first and have an overview over everything. And I think that has something to do with that. The good news is Toastmasters International has adjusted, and now there are plenty of tools out there that I would like to share today where we can get an overview over each path to make a decision beforehand, knowing what's coming. Pathways, of course, is different than the manual program. First of all, the major difference is it is located online. Now, if I think about my club, we have a pretty mixed group. Some Toastmasters have been with the club over 20 years. Others are rather new and are younger. We have 2 members in their 20s. The younger group clearly likes the idea that it is online. I think it is the way to go. It is more and more in the business world used. Everything is moved online. And that is most likely a good idea that we learn about that. It is still possible to print out your path. So the option exists. James has mentioned that in the other training. I hope he will do today again. It is not required to keep everything online. There is printout options if that is preferred, for instance, by older members. And if I think of the 2 members in my club, that might be what they would like. The other difference with Pathways is that the target audience is also probably more business and professional growth oriented. That is a change also where I personally struggle a little bit. I came to Toastmasters solely for personal growth reasons. However, by being a Toastmaster, I then learned that I benefit greatly in my professional life. I again understand that shift. However, I'm someone who believes in and more than either or. It doesn't have to be either. It is for professional or personal. Both should be targeted. And again, Toastmasters International has made some changes in order to adjust that and give that. And I see the initiative of District 7 in the same light. a hand is reached out to all our clubs to help people with that. A new member registers for Toastmasters, gets the first path for free. Every path that you do after that costs $20. Right now, there are 11 paths to choose from. Toastmasters, because they got some feedback, has also 5 paths in print. However, I will not go into detail with that. I have not heard from anybody using that path printed material, so I don't know much about it. And as I said, James will tell us, hopefully, that the online version can be printed out if that is your preference. What does a path consist of? It consists, first of all, here's a quick overview of what the paths are. You see the professional targeting. I am a little bit sad I don't see a storytelling path. I love the storytelling manual. I do believe storytelling is also very important in the business world. I do believe if I struggle with that, I can try to build it into my path that I use, or I can have the option to contact Toastmaster International and say, hey, where is a storytelling path? And maybe if I'm not the only one giving that feedback, way down in the future, they will create a path for that. That is one thing about Pathways I like. It seems to be open-ended. They already added 1 path in the last few years. They started out with 10. So they can update and stay current on what's going on in the world. I actually like that. So each path consists of 5 levels. They start building from some foundational skills to much more complicated and more complex projects. For instance, leadership path require you if you choose to do that, to be in a leadership role for 6 months. That is definitely new, which you didn't have to do during the manuals, but it adds probably for the leadership skill that you are trying to obtain. Still, the same end goal is to acquire the DTM, become a distinguished Toastmaster. Pathways, just like the manuals, will help you get there. What are the individual levels? The first level is the same for every path. No matter what path you choose, this is what your first level looks like. The new member will give an icebreaker where you introduce yourself to the club. The second project is feedback and evaluation. You will actually give 2 speeches. First, a speech that will be evaluated, and then you will be asked to give the speech again where you build in that feedback and that evaluation that you've received so you can improve upon. You will also have to do then an evaluation, to give an evaluation to one of your fellow members so you learn how it is to actually do an evaluation. The third project is researching and presenting. It gives you the basic skills to research a topic and then present it in a way that your members or an audience can learn from you. It's a little different than the manuals. The manual, we had the first manual that gave you 10 speeches and probably was a little broader in the fundamental approach. Some of those projects in Pathways are hidden later in the electives I will talk about in a moment. However, this is still a very valuable fundamental teaching level. Level 2 then splits. The first projects you have to do are based on the path you choose. So they are different for each path. The third project is a mentoring session where you learn about mentoring. Now, I personally like that a lot. When I started at Gresham Toastmasters, we had a mentoring program. I had a mentor that helped me a lot. He is still at the club. And when I give a speech these days, he still sends me personal notes and it's greatly appreciated. Right now, my club does not have an official mentoring program. I believe it's a great idea to make that part of a level so that the clubs are reminded, that members automatically find out that that option exists. And later on, I will introduce, if members show interest in becoming a mentor, that option, you can build upon that speech. The third level does require only 1 required project based on the path, but then has 2 elective projects. I will show an overview what those elective projects entail. It is very interesting. It's one of the things where I think Pathways is actually great because it adds things that were not in the manuals available based on what's going on. For instance, what do I mean? I like podcasts. However, in my professional life, I don't have to create one. I don't have to listen to one. It's just for fun, but I always was interested. How is a podcast done? There is an elective in one of the paths where you learn how to do a podcast, and you are required to actually then create a podcast. So some new stuff that I like, same with blog writing. I always thought, hey, that would be fun to do a blog, but I don't need it for professional work. Who has time to write a blog? Well, in Toastmasters as a project, I might just do that, and I'm very excited about it. Level 3 has an additional requirement. The member must serve as a Toastmaster, table topics master, and speech evaluator before they can move on. So that is critical that they need to log that, and James will later show us where that is. The good thing is you don't have to fill those roles in level 3. So if you remember in level 1, you learn to become an evaluator. If you track that date, you can put it into Pathways, it will be logged, and then you have already fulfilled that requirement of level 3. The last 2 levels both require one required project and one elective project based on your path. And here's a quick overview, it's probably a little small, over some of the elective projects. As stated before, you have to do 2 in level 3, 1 in level 4, 1 in level 5. There are many more options. Some of the electives are in every pass, but some are target specific. So it's worth checking which path you want to do. If an elective, like I mentioned with podcast, it's in the presentation skill path, so that you align what you want to do. Again, this is where I really think Pathways is an improvement, because we are learning new things. It's also, if I understand the design right, something where more elective projects can be added on later on if Toastmasters International chooses to do so. After you've done all those 5 levels, in order to complete the path, you have to do one more thing, or the member has to do one more thing, a speech to reflect on your path that is a little longer than our normal speeches. That project has to be completed last. It has to be done after all the other paths are completed. The good thing now, and new than the original rollout of Pathways, is the other projects you do not have to do in order. However, it is greatly recommended for new members to start with level 1. However, if you then like an elective better than anything else, you can do the elective before you do a required speech in level 2. I think that helps with personal interests, where you get members excited to do something they really want to do first without having to complete other projects. For the credit, the important part is for the club credit for the DCP program. When the Basecamp manager then enters that in, those projects do not count yet until the actual level is completed. So in order to get credit for the club level, the DCP program, you have to enter level 1, level 2, when that is completed, then you can go to level 3. So the electives you do before cannot count before level 2 is completed. The basic flow, I put that in just because it seems there is a resistance in members, and I understand it. You have to go online and mark your level complete. That is a little different. On the other hand, it is the same principle as we had with the manuals. Remember, with the manuals, we finished 5 or 10 speeches. Then at the last page, we had to write down and list all the speeches with a date, and then hand to an officer to sign those speeches before they counted and before we could move on to get another education award. This is very similar. It's just online, so it is different. It is important probably to show members online a little demonstration that they see how that works, but the idea is the same. Again, one important part is, in order for the club to receive credit under the DCP program, the Basecamp managers, the president, the VPE, or the secretary have to enter anything then in addition that is done on Pathways in Club Central. That is a very key feature for the club to receive credit. So the member individually needs to mark the level complete, but then in order for the club to get credit, The Basecamp managers have to do it in Club Central. Here's a quick overview over the mentoring program. In level 2, if members decide, hey, this is a great idea and I always love teaching and coaching, I should be part of it, they can become a mentor themselves. They have to start with that speech in level 2, and then they have to fill out a self-evaluation form to prepare them for the role, and then mentor a member with a short-term project and a long-term project. That mentoring program is its own educational award. So if you're interested in a Triple Crown, usually it takes 3 levels to get the Triple Crown. You can also do 2 levels and finish the mentoring program to receive the Triple Crown. And last but not least, the final goal is still, as before, to get to the DTM. The requirements are similar, but a little different. Key is it takes 2 completions of path. So you need to complete 2 paths in order to be eligible. And then you have still to also serve as a club officer for 12 months, serve as a district officer, become a club mentor or coach, become a club sponsor, or do one of the other programs, a Speechcraft or youth leadership program, and to complete a DTM project. So if you want to create your own project, I mentioned storytelling. I'm thinking maybe I should create my own storytelling path to push that in that direction. So you can be creative here and go in a different direction or any direction you want to go. I think I move on right along since we have a long session for Q&As, and I will share my screen to go to the website. If you have new members, if you are VPP, I plan in my club to do one-on-one sessions or maybe small group sessions as Gwendolyn's suggested, because for members to actually see it, or now with Zoom, it's ideal they actually can do it with you in a Zoom meeting. It might be really helpful that they get started. First, you go to the Toastmasters International website. New members won't have an account. They need to click on login up here and then enter their email. However, they do not have a password. Toastmasters gives you a hint. Members logging in for the first time, please use forget password, and then you can enter your email, and you will be sent an email from Toastmasters International with a password and instructions, step-by-step instructions how to set up your account. Then once you have, the member has the account, I recommend logging in with them, have them log in in order to find where they need to go to find Pathways program. The best way to get there is click on the welcome Rudy or whichever name the member has. That is the fastest way to get to the profile page, which is very useful. At the profile page, if you have a new member who is interested in learning more on their own, you can send them to the Navigator site. That is here on the right. That is a site that contains a lot of information, videos, other PDF documents where you can get involved and immerse yourself in Pathways yourself. However, members like me, as I said, want to see everything first. I would help them to go and choose a path by clicking on the middle one, choose a path. On the left is to go to Basecamp. That applies later once you have a path. So I click on choose a path, and we'll come to this other page where again we have now, that's rather new, the option to get a printed material. However, I do not recommend it. I don't know anybody who has done it yet. I cannot even speak if that is working or not. So we click on select digital resources to select the path, and you will get 2 more options. You can be researching on your own, or you can take the online assessment. The online assessment is meant to help you, and I think it's pretty valuable because it asks some questions. What are your interests? And you can then answer those questions. It takes a little while. I will not do it all today, but you see it takes a few minutes to do that, and you get then recommendations. Toastmasters International will give you 3 paths that they recommend. It is important that you are not required to take those 3 paths. Any member still can choose any of the other 11 paths. Once the member then make a decision to get a path, how do they get into their learning material, the actual pathways for themselves? The quickest way is, again, click on the profile page, welcome, and then click on your enrolled in one path, go to my transcript link. That brings you then to the following page where you have the path and the learning materials. My path is effective coaching. You click on open curriculum and you come to the next page, which is, I think, very helpful, because here it shows you all the levels and all the requirements for your specific path. You can, you're a nerd like me, click to level 2 and you see exactly the speeches before, the required ones that we couldn't see what it was. Here you can all see it all the way up to level 5. How do you start a path? You click on launch in level 1, icebreaker, you click on launch and a pop-up window opens. And that pop-up window is basically what the manual was before, with instructions and reference materials, how to give your icebreaker or how to give later on whatever project you are working on. Not in the beginning. You go through that material by clicking on the arrows and you keep working through it. The key then how to complete the path is that you have to assess your skills at the end. You will get a questionnaire in the beginning of the project. How comfortable are you doing this project? And in the end, it will ask you again, give a self-evaluation. Have you learned anything? And in order to complete your path, you have to then close that window. Every member has to do that, though it does need to, the member is required to take action in order to do that. And when you then close that window, you will get that check mark over your project. That tells you that you have completed the level. Then for the club to get credit, the member still has to notify the VPE that he has done so, because then the VPE or the president or the secretary, but most likely the VPE, has to confirm that that level is completed, so the member then can go on to the next project. And then the VPE, just to reiterate, for the club to get credit, needs to mark that in Club Central so that the club will get recognition. That's the basic idea of my presentation, and I think with that, we're handing it over straight to the Q&A section. Since we started a little late, I would say we don't take a 5-minute break and get going. I will stop sharing my screen. Oh, I wanted to do one more thing. I forgot. I apologize. And that is showing you the District 7 resource page that has some interesting pathways resources for you. So you go to the District 7 website and click up here on Pathways. And then you come to a page where you have many, many materials, videos and PDF documents. And I personally like the Pathway Project Catalog. There is some smaller introduction similar to what I have given you. I like this document, even though it is very large, because this is where you can look in the beginning what each path entails. You can click on a path that gives you a short description, and when you click on it, then it shows you in an overview all the different levels and the electives you can choose from within your path. And if you click on those, then it will tell you a little bit more about it. For me, I find it very helpful. As VPE, it is also helpful if a member gets stuck. This is how you can track where they are working on and maybe give them pointers what is next if they are not aware of that document. But hopefully in an introduction, an onboarding session, you would bring it up to their attention that they have and the option to actually go through a program and see a quick overview over everything where they can then follow along. All right, that is my quick presentation. Any questions in regards to that or to dive deeper into pathways? I hand it over to James Wantz.
Thank you, Rudy. Fantastic presentation. This is the eponymous Q&A session. Yes, Q&A. You have the Q, I have the A. Does anybody have any questions they want to start out?
Hey, this is Janine Johnson.
Hi, Janine.
Will you demonstrate for me as the VPE how to approve when someone finishes a path and then go on to submit the awards as well?
Okay, I will do my best with that. One moment here. And since I am no longer a, how should we say, a VPE and don't have access to Basecamp Manager, I do have this handy dandy presentation that you should be looking at right now that says, oh, hang on, I just clicked on the wrong thing there for a moment. Okay, checking member progress. Nope, we want to go back a bit. Sorry, I was in the wrong one. No. Close your eyes real quick. Certificates. Okay, Basecamp Manager. So to go to Basecamp Manager to check on the, how should we say, completion. Two more. That's the moment. Things are bouncing around my screen a bit too fast here. Okay, to get to Basecamp Manager to check member completion of a project, you can either go through your profile, which is probably the easiest way to do there, and then check that little box that says log in as Basecamp Manager. Then once you're into Basecamp Manager, you click on the pending requests button, that blue one on the left-hand side. Once you click there, this is where all of the pending requests for everybody in your club that has completed a level, this is where they should show up. If you have nothing here, then potentially the person didn't actually mark the project complete. They may have finished all of the projects, but they may not have marked the level complete. Whereas when they do mark a level complete, you should receive an email as the VPE, as Basecamp Manager, letting you know that it is complete. If you have received an email and still nothing shows up in this window for you, you might want to check with the other Basecamp managers because it's president, secretary, and VPE all have access to Basecamp Manager to see if any of them have approved that level already. And if still you don't have anything there, then I suggest you contact membership@toastmasters.org because something's hinky if they completed their level and it still doesn't show up for you. But if you have the level completion, as you can see right here, on the right-hand side, you have the red X and the green check mark. They are very close together, so make sure you select the right one. When you select the green or the red, you will get this screen. One of them says approve, the other says deny. So make sure you want to do the right one. If you're approving it, select the green check mark and then click there. You do not have to put anything into that window. You can if you want, as far as when you approved it or any other details. Then you click that submit button. Once that is done, the member in their Basecamp on their educational transcript down at level completion where it says status will now say completed. Prior to you clicking that completion submit button, this area says pending approval. But once you select it, it'll show completed and it'll show them having that check mark for them completing that entire level. Now, this is only the first step. There are 2 steps to doing educational awards. This is in Basecamp Manager, and this is the bonus step 1.5 of how to find their certificate. We'll step through this really quick. This is their certificate for you getting, for whichever level that they have completed. You, as the Basecamp Manager, have access to getting to those certificates. You can type in on the upper right-hand corner of the search box, the name of the person you're looking for their certificate. Then it brings up a list, and you see that little button right there that says View Team. Well, if you click that View Team, it'll show you all of the members of the club that are logged into Basecamp, which is really beneficial. And then you can go to their profile, their path and learning, click on their curriculum, view details, view certificate. Yeah, I know it's a lot of steps, but we can go into that a little bit more if you want, but that's not absolutely important to getting the educational award submitted. This is step 2, Club Central. Go back to Toastmasters.org, click on the Club Central tab under Leadership Central. That'll bring you here. Select Submit Educational Award. When you get to that, you select whichever member you just approved the level for in Basecamp. Once you select them, then it'll show you all of the awards they're eligible for. So it'll list which paths they're enrolled in and the next level that they haven't received the award for. So if it's level 1, that should show up there. You select that one. You decide whether or not they want you to send a letter of recognition to their employer. You review and submit the application, and the award happens. Did that answer your question in a long, drawn-out fashion?
Well, yes, but I think I saw something in the chat that these slides were going to be published later, so that will be helpful.
Yes, I will gladly. Here's my email address. I will gladly send you all of these slides, a copy of them. I have multiple presentations. These also exist on YouTube in their own videos. Basecamp Manager and Pathways for Busy People. I talk about various bits of that. Yes. Phyllis, I see a hand.
I have a question for you. Some of us are in multiple clubs, and I may go into one of my clubs and ask them to complete the project that I just completed, and yet I don't want to give them the award. I just simply want it logged. Is that permissible? I want to give the award to someone else.
By logged, you mean completing the level in Basecamp Manager?
Yes.
Okay. So you want Club A to mark the level completed, but then Club B is going to get the award?
Correct. So is it
absolutely...
absolutely...
Man, talk about a carrot and stick. My goodness. Hey, I completed a level. Oh, but wait, you don't get the award. Come on, Phyllis. Be nice to your clubs. I would strongly suggest that the club you want to give the award to, you have the VP or the Basecamp Manager do both of those steps. That will reduce some level of confusion, because there have been some people that wanted to give an award to a certain club and their other club processed it. So to streamline communication, it might be best just to do everything within one.
Okay.
Now, you do not have to do all of your projects or your entire level and give it to one club. If you're a member of multiple clubs, you can do projects in any club whatsoever. You can complete levels and award them to various clubs. I've done that multiple times. You don't have to be logged into the club you are doing the project in order to mark the project completed and to go through that. You only need to be logged into the club you are going to give the award to when you complete the level, that final step on level completion. Otherwise, it doesn't matter which club you're logged into.
Thank you.
And one more tip for multiple club people. Once you complete your level and you click that level complete, I would strongly suggest that you send an email to your VPE or the Basecamp Manager of your club, letting them know that you just completed your level and would you please go in and process that award. Actually, this is recommended for everybody, not just multiple club people, because the system can take 6 hours or a couple of days to send out that email letting the VPE know that you've completed a project. And by sending an email to the VPE saying, hey, I completed a level, can you go process the award? That way you can make sure it gets done. You don't have to wait for that system-generated email as the Basecamp Manager. As soon as that pending request shows up, you can process and approve that. Yes, Dave.
Yes, I have a question regarding electives. It's actually kind of a two-part, if I could, I'll let you decide, of course. But the first one is I have a level 3 member that wants to complete it, and he said that he does not see his elective to be able to check off within his base camp. So that is his last obstacle, is checking off the elective that he's already done.
Okay.
And then my second question about electives, Rudy had mentioned something about being able to do things in advance, which I think is a fabulous innovation with Pathways.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in level 1, but I'm really jazzed about this elective in level 3, can I do it out of order?
Oh, absolutely.
Is there any problem with that? Or
No, none whatsoever. You can do any of your Pathways projects out of order. You could complete an entire level 3 before you complete level 1 and mark it off. The only restriction is that you can't get the educational award for the level 3 until you've done levels 1 and 2.
I see.
So the awards have to go in order, but you can work on any project you want out of order. I mean, you can start a new path and immediately jump into that blog creation or podcast that you want to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now the first part of your question.
Exactly. Thank you.
There may be some confusion. You should be looking at my Basecamp manager right now.
Okay.
Phyllis, nod your head. Okay, good. I can see Phyllis. So I'm clicking on my transcript, going to open my curriculum on engaging humor. They have changed how they've laid this out a little bit, so it can be a bit confusing, because you can see the level 3 project right here that's required, and then it says elective projects and view details. Well, they put the elective projects in their own little window. So you can click on that and it shows all of the elective projects separate from the level 3 project. So this may be the confusion.
Okay.
If you click view details, it should take you to that page still. And then once you've completed these here, that should signal this completion 100%. You're not going to see a little check mark here like you do above, but you will see this full 100% bar show up.
Okay, that's very useful.
So that may be, they may be expecting to see a check mark that's not going to show up there. So there's that one. Good question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I see a hand, Phyllis.
So in the old system, in the traditional program, you were restricted from doing manuals, the advanced manuals, more than once for a DTM. In Pathways, you have to complete 2 pathways in order to be eligible for a DTM. On these optional projects, is it 1 per DTM, or can you do 1 per path so you have 2 of the same project, as it were, in each path for your DTM?
So let me see if I understand this. Let's say you're doing presentation mastery and engaging humor. Those are your 2 paths. So you're saying you would go into level 3 on each one of those, and under presentation mastery, you've decided you're going to use presentation software. Then you realize under engaging humor that you're also still on Zoom and you want to do the same project there. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that completely, because the paths are separate. So the projects you pick there, they are path specific. So one is presentation, mastery, and the other is engaging humor. Those won't count as the same project because they are in different paths.
Great, thank you very much.
And I only see a few people on my, well, actually, I suppose I could just stop the share and that would make sense. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well then I have something that I want to show. If we can find it, Basecamp Manager. I'm going to go back there to my presentation on Basecamp Manager. And I want to look at checking member progress. Now this one has been a bugaboo for several people. Inside of Basecamp Manager, to check member progress, you click that second blue button that says member progress. Once you get to that screen, you'll notice this screen is completely empty. the system needs to refresh and give you new details before you can see the charts. In the upper right-hand corner where that red arrow is, you see that options button. Click the options and then click refresh. Once you do that, the system, as you can see down in that lower corner, is refreshing now, absolutely refreshing. It's having a 7-up. It is so refreshing that in about 3 or 4 minutes, depending on club size and depending on how many people are watching cat videos on the internet will depend on how long it takes to refresh this screen. You should then get a whole lot of bar charts. If you don't, if it just continues to spin or you have nothing showing up there whatsoever, I would suggest strongly trying to click that refresh button again. Each of those windows also has, I don't think I show them. No, in each one of these windows, in like the upper right-hand corner of each window, it's hidden, is a drop-down arrow that has that refresh, print, export option in it as well. It is not really clear what to do when you get here and there's a blank page with no records, but do this step first. You should be able to see all of your records pop up, be able to track member progress, etc. All right.
I have a related question to that.
Yes.
So I ended up finding out that I just needed to wait an insanely long time for them to load. They finally loaded for me. And I found that I need to go to view details and that hidden arrow to really get anything worthwhile out of these charts. Otherwise, it seems very vague. With your experience with this, how does this help? Do you notice that certain graphs, charts, or certain amounts of data, if you export it to Excel, helps with guiding people through pathways? Is there any particular one that's beneficial, or is it all just for people who like data graphs?
Well, there is a lot of data and a lot of graphs, and it's, how should we say? Some of these are less helpful than others. But if we back up here under path progress, this, the status of all paths will show you how many people have registered for which path. Now, obviously, it's not telling you who did. In order to find out who's registered for which path, you have to click that arrow and view details like you discovered. There is a new report mechanism inside of Basecamp Manager that I do not think I got any slides. Oh, I do. Under the Reports tab in Basecamp Manager, there is a training progress pie chart, which I actually kind of found was kind of neat. So it is, I think it's it's regular. There's a drop down. It's not showing it. I think it might be a custom report or a regular report. You click on that one, you can insert your time frame and find out with a lovely pie chart colors and then a whole list of names underneath, who's doing what and what's involved in who, et cetera, et cetera. The helpfulness of these reports will depend on what you are looking for inside of Basecamp Manager. Probably, how shall we say? I've used, originally when this rolled out in 2017, I was using these reports to find out which members in my club had registered for a path and which members had not. Now you can find that information under Club Central when you look at your club roster. If you are an officer, it will tell you if the member is Pathways enrolled. So they took all of that back end and put it right up front where it needs to be. The other benefit of these reports, if I can go back and look at, I think it's, okay, right on the right side here. Paths registered, not yet started. I paid attention to this particular block quite a bit. This tells me that a new member has gone in and registered for a path. They picked their path. They went through the whole selection process, etc., but they never started it. They never got into the icebreaker or started looking at any of the materials. This was an indication to me as the VPE to reach out to them to ask them if they had any questions or problems interacting with pathways. There's also paths completed, which you should already know about. That's level progress. But you also get that same thing on status of all paths registered, in progress, and completed. You get the separate colors. So I always generally paid more attention to the registered ones. Those were the ones that nobody was working yet. And then I would check in with the member to find out if they had any questions. Great question. Any more?
James, could I slip in on the topic?
Yeah.
Oh, great. The question is this: I can relate to that aspect of wanting to populate these reports and it just sometimes never populating. And I was wondering, is that I mean, I have excellent, I pay for the highest internet speed that I can.
Speed doesn't matter on this one. Megan, how long did you have to wait for it to populate?
Ooh, the first few times I tried, it never populated. Then this morning, while I was waiting for all of us to gather, I think it was about 6-7 minutes, and they
Yes.
populated.
Okay.
Yes. The winner so far is 10 minutes. It's taken that long. Now, a strong suggestion is do not try and do this on a Friday night, because normally I've noticed that Toastmasters International does all of their web updates on Friday evenings and things get really slow for some reason.
Okay.
But yes, it is going to take a while. So when you get up in the morning, turn on your computer, click the refresh, then go get a cup of coffee, take a shower, pet the cat, and come back. And sometime around noon, you should have reports.
I see. So in other words, it's not fighting my browser, perhaps,
No.
or it's just the way that. But that's helpful. You have your high traffic times. You want to look for those good times.
Yeah, pretty much, because you're dealing with a blockage on the Toastmasters server. This has nothing to do with your internet or connection speed.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Let's see. Oh, the printed materials. This is one that Rudy talked about. I want to show you how to get all of your printed materials and not have to pay an extra $25 for it. Because I'm all about not having to pay the extra money for that, which, anyway. Okay. Here we are back in my educational transcript. And for this example, I'm just going to use presentation software because it's the exact same for all the projects. If you want to get a printed copy of your project, all you have to do is go in, click that, well, activate, then launch if you haven't clicked on it before. And the reason you have to click the activate, Toastmasters is using an off-the-shelf learning modification software program called Cornerstone On Demand that's used in colleges and other corporate learning environments. So they're using a structure that's already there, and you click the activate, which means it puts the information on your transcript. Then you click the launch, which opens the window. Anyway, little back window stuff there. To get a print manual, once you've launched your project, usually ended up on the first page. On mine, because you end up on the page that you just closed it at. Click this little down arrow and go to your evaluation. On this screen right here, you've got this lovely Print My Project. When you click the Print My Project, it downloads, puts in a browser window, a PDF of your entire project. Now, this one you can see is 18 pages long. This is the manual that they would send you in the mail, colored, bound, stapled, all that fun stuff. You can print yourself and save $25. You could do this for your entire level. Go through, look at which projects you want to do, print out the manuals, and have them as hard copy, separate from doing any computer use at all, and just work directly from those. You don't have to do absolutely everything on the screen if you don't want to. I had in the last session, somebody was talking about not wanting to interact with the computer or having a poor internet signal. My suggestion is you do one like marathon session. You log in to your curriculum. You go through every single level. You launch it. You go to the Print My Project, download the PDF, save it to your computer. Move to the next project, download the PDF, save it to your computer, and go and step through every single one of those until you have all of your projects. If you just want to use the printed manuals and not have to worry about this at all, then you have all of your projects on hand, saved to your computer, and once you complete them, I mean, you could do all 3 projects in this level, come back in one time, go through and mark each of the projects completed and then turn it into your VPE. Because I know there are some people that really don't want to spend a whole lot of time with pathways on the computer because poor internet signal, or they spend too much time on the computer already to begin with, and they don't want to do it that way. That is a way to get around that and not have to spend the additional $25. Okay. Any other questions?
One quick, James, I mentioned in level 3 that you have to mark off those 3 roles. Can you quickly show where to go there for that? Thank you.
I was just looking at a chat comment. Getting started, webinar for club. Okay, we'll get right back to that. And the share screen button keeps moving. Okay, there it is. I found it again. And here we go. Open curriculum. To complete level 3. This level 3 right here. A lot of the members come in here and they try and complete the level and it says you have to do something else. You have to complete 3 meeting roles. And in the upper right-hand corner, there is this gear icon that says My Account. You click on the My Account page. This brings up this screen here that has a place where you can track all the times you've done those particular meeting roles. The 3 meeting roles you need to complete in order to get past level 3 is Toastmaster, Table Topics Master, and Evaluator. Evaluator. There's 3. Sorry, my finger's weird. Those are the 3 roles you have to complete, and in order for Pathways to see that you've done those roles, you simply have to put a date into these boxes here. So Speech Evaluator, you click the date, you select, okay, I did it today, and then you click the Save button in the lower right-hand corner. And you get this page that says it's been saved. Yay, great. So then you can change or modify the other dates for the other roles. Once you have a date in each one of those 3 boxes, you will be able to click the Mark Complete on level 3. One fun fact is that if you have a date in here, any additional level that you do, your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, as long as there's a date sitting in here, it will think you've already done the projects and you've done the roles. So you do not need to keep coming back in here and changing those dates unless you want to use this to track your own roles. Cool. Okay, now that one, let's see here. I got a comment. Do you have suggested best practices or standard operating procedures like top 3 things for new VPEs, getting started webinar for club, doing one-on-one sessions, etc., or thoughts on this? The best practice for VPEs that I suggest is become extremely familiar with how to complete a project, complete a level, and how to submit an educational award. Those are the primary things you're going to get questions from your membership, as well as it's going to be the sticking points for your club earning DCP credit. There are lots of videos on YouTube. The D7 Toastmasters YouTube channel has plenty of videos that, well, I've created many of them. There are also plenty of videos around the world for how to more effectively do the VPE role or Basecamp manager. By all means, take a look at those. The Toastmasters membership is coming up with some really cool ideas and suggestions and help tips for people around the world.
Can I ask a follow-up on that, James?
Yes.
So it seems to me that, at least in my mind, just so I can figure this out, it's helpful to figure out the top 3 goals as well as the top 3 practices to do that. In other words, I suppose the goal in one case would be to be able to let someone know how to complete their level or to help them with that. The reason I mentioned the way to do that would be I've just found that one-on-one sessions really help. And I've got this kind of idea of train the trainers. I mean, we could talk about that later, but the one-on-one makes such a huge difference. I had a member that was lost in Pathways for a year, and we sat down for a one-on-one session, and he's like totally dialed in.
Yeah,
I'm very happy about that. And then the other one is, I think, Rudy, you were mentioning this. doing a quick webinar on the initial steps to get into pathways. I thought that was brilliant. And if I just, come into this saying, okay, all my VPPs, these are three things, the top three things that you could do. So I guess in my mind, I'm going to say, what are the top three questions I get, which is, I think, what you just shared. And then in my mind, I'll be looking for what are the top three ways that I can, really get the VPPs on a good positive momentum.
Absolutely. There are general sticking points that I'm finding a lot of people get stuck in, and that's creating their account at Toastmasters, picking a path, completing a project, completing a level, and then getting the credit for it. So those are the five main sticking points. But everybody has an individual interaction with pathways. People have sticking points that are slightly different from other people. So I love your suggestion of one-on-one. With Zoom, I've actually done several one-on-one sessions with people that have had problems, and we've been able to work out most of those. And I love the fact that we're able to do that now. I did a session with a gentleman on the beach, and it was a whole lot easier than trying to, meet up at some point.
Yes.
Then there's all sorts of options for doing that. So yeah, reach out to your club members. I would strongly suggest asking people what is their current frustration or sticking point with pathways, and that will tell you exactly how to approach. I tend to focus most on the mechanics of the user interface, how to get projects done, how to move around, how to navigate, but there are larger, kind of top-down issues that I don't really address, which is, why did Toastmasters choose pathways? How come Toastmasters doesn't like anybody over 60 and forces us all under the computer? I stay out of that debate. My job and my current life is technology based. I'm on the computer all day long, so this is a perfect fit for me, and I'm into problem solving. The top-down, the struggle issue questions is a perfect topic for the new Pathways Committee. So by all means, reach out to Dr. Gwendolyn. She's a fantastic uniter and wants to get everybody together and working together towards a common goal.
Absolutely.
Phyllis, I think I saw a hand from you.
A couple of different questions, if I might. I don't want to take up airtime. And perhaps this is a Dr. Gwendolyn question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you find it a challenge, because you are not a Basecamp manager, you've already established that, to answer some of these questions that might be Basecamp manager related? How do you get around that other than a slideshow?
Well, I've been a Basecamp manager for 2 years in a row and have spent a lot of time playing around in there. And as opposed to just the regular Basecamp, which they keep modifying, Basecamp manager hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. What I have been doing lately, because I don't have access to Basecamp manager myself, I just have the presentations that I created when I did, is when I get on a one-on-one or a small group session, I'll have the other person who has Basecamp manager authority share their screen, and then I'll tell them where to go. So it's kind of a learning process in that regard.
Okay, and thank you. And then my other question goes back to level 3, where you talked about filling in the different roles that you need. What I've discovered, and I'm sure that you have too, is it has no relation to the path. Once you put them in there, you can use that same date set for any path you go into.
Yep.
Are they going to fix that?
I don't know if they will. I do know that by, let's see, putting the dates in originally for me, and then I went and cleared them, so I had no dates in there whatsoever, but I had put them in originally, I'm still able to complete a level 3 with no problem. So it's like the first time you put a date in there, something back in the process, the system server has put a check mark. I suspect that they will correct that eventually, because they've corrected other similar glitches. It's probably just not incredibly high on their list. But I don't know what their list looks like because I haven't seen it. Cheryl.
Hi. Does it matter what date you put in? So I was a table topics master last week or the week before, and so it doesn't matter if it's...
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
You could put January 1st, 1901 on all three of those.
Okay.
Just as long as there's a date in that box, it will let you pass that. As far as being sure you've done those roles, well, that's going to be kind of on your VPE. If you're trying to complete your level 3 and you've never been Toastmaster, but you say you've been Toastmaster, well, do you cheat at solitaire too? It's just one of those personal integrity type things. Yeah. I mean, you could technically go into Pathways, complete an entire path by checking all the projects off. And if your VPE didn't know better, could approve that, and you could do absolutely no projects whatsoever.
Okay, so and it doesn't really matter which club you did those roles in. So I belong to 2 clubs, and the feedbackers is going to get the level 1 credit, but it doesn't matter if I've been the Table Topics Master for a different club.
Does not matter at all. And you don't have to be logged into whichever club you did the role in order to put the date in there, because that doesn't matter either. The only time it matters which club you're logged into is when you're turning in a completed level.
Okay, and can you go over one more time for me how to find that screen, because it's just so much information.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I do.
It's an avalanche of information.
Yep, here we go. Share screen. We'll go back to, and I still have it up, so let's cancel that. Okay, so this is the landing page for Basecamp. As you can see that. Then in the upper right-hand corner, you see the search bar, and then there's a little profile picture of me, and then there's this gear icon. Hover over the gear icon and go down to the My Account. You've got My Account highlighted. Click on it.
Okay.
That brings up this page.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then all of those spots are down here below that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And make sure you click your save once you enter a date in there.
Oh.
Otherwise, it won't save them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Legacy curriculum, we had log speech titles and dates. No, we do not have to log speech titles or dates at all with Pathways, which is a blessing and a curse all in its own, because I like the fact that I knew which speech applied to which project in the old system, and now all I know is that the project is completed, not even when I did it or what the speech title was. I found that I am using the tracking software for our club, Easy Speak, to log the dates and the titles and keep track of things there, because Pathways does not have that option to put titles, dates, or any other information in. I hope at some point they do. Well, it used to be under the legacy program that when you got a CC manual, competent communicator, and you did 10 speeches, that the VPE, when they went to do the award, had to type in the name of the speech and the date it was given. And they had to do that for all 10 projects and even the advanced manuals. Don't have to do that under Pathways anymore. The VPE doesn't need to know what the title was or when the project was completed. So that's a blessing for the VPE as far as doing the awards, but it's a downside as far as tracking my own progress, because when I look back and see that I've completed Presentation Mastery, all 5 levels, when I look at that, there's nothing there that tells me what project it was or when I did it. So I have to keep track of that somewhere else.
For me personally, I'd like to be able to track my own. And I know someone I walked through getting their Basecamp set up was like, I have my speech titles and dates. And I was like, you don't need that. And she was so adamant about it. Now I realize why, because I never did any of the the old school versions. I came in under Pathways. But did you say there was a tracking software, something any of us who might want to be tracking our own could use? I thought you mentioned something.
Well, the clubs that one of the clubs that I'm in, because I'm in 3 clubs, uses Easy Speak. And inside of Easy Speak, it's a club meeting and project tracking software that some clubs have used. Other clubs use FreeToast Host. That does the same kind of thing. And another club that I'm in uses a binder with sheets of paper. So the tracking method is as varied as the club is itself.
James, regarding that, individual club decisions, for example, when I've been VP of Ed, I still ask for the speech titles and dates. And, for myself, I've decided to create a spreadsheet, and I'm totally dialed in with what speech and all that. But I think that's an important issue. There's that issue. But then the other issue is I've had members that were confused about pathways and were under the impression that they had actually done all the requirements. So they just simply check these things off. And I feel like I'm serving them better if I actually ask them for the speech titles and dates, because it helps us to both verify the integrity of their path. What do you think about that? Is that overstepping as VPE, or?
Well, my approach to VPE has always been a resource and not a police force. I mean, people use
Absolutely.
that reference to many different things. But I, as a VPE, I always made sure that I knew which project people were working on and kept track of those projects, so that later on when they came back and said, I can't remember which project I did and which one it was tied to, and I still have that information for them. So yeah, I would encourage VPEs to keep track of when the speech was done, what the title was, what the project was, and even for that matter, who the evaluator was. That information is tracked on EasySpeak, and somebody did ask about EasySpeak and where to find that. So what I'm going to do is go here. EasySpeak it's an online platform, easy-speak.org. And our club is registered with EasySpeak. So as you can see here, a login using, password, etc. And the club itself, we can look at the various meetings. It has a meeting agenda. It's got places to put people in, what speeches they did. I have my own personal tracking, my participation, request a speech, what's my speech progress. I can come in here and see exactly which speeches I've done, what the dates were on those speeches, and even down here, it tells me what titles were those speeches. This has all of the pathways information in it as well. This can be effective for clubs. It can also be a bit of an overkill, depending on which way you go. Some of the advanced clubs don't find this as helpful, but some of the other clubs find it very helpful. And then the other one that I talked about was Free Toast Host. That is, Google Free Toast Host.
That's what we have. That's what we have for our agendas.
Okay.
So it should be all
That's
in there
the
then.
free service, the free website that Toastmasters International gives to every club. Every club has their own Free Toast Host page. Some just use it for marketing. Some use it for agendas and role tracking. Did Stephanie have a question?
Yes. The question that I had is the way that I keep track is I go back in and log all my evaluations back in within the system. Is there any way that I can look, if I advise my people to do that so they can keep track, because I know who evaluated me, the date of the project, and the name, because it's all in the evaluation. Is there a way I can look at other people's?
So what you're saying is that you upload the evaluation forms back into your documents inside of Basecamp?
Yes.
Okay, that is an option because Basecamp does provide a storage for everyone. Originally, 3 years ago, I was telling people to do that exact same process to upload their evaluations because I thought the VPE could see those. Unfortunately, that is not true. The only person that can see documents in your own documents page is you. They are privacy protected. So using that platform for verification of a project is not feasible because nobody else can see them.
Okay.
But it is a good place if you want to store your own evaluations or other documents. Yes.
Okay. So my other question on that would be is as I'm on my first path, when I go to my second path, does it have another set of documents like for each path, or is that just all my documents total?
It is. You only have those 5 folders. You have, I think, 6. My projects, level 1, level 2, level 3, 4, and 5. You don't You don't have the capacity to create any more folders. You don't have the capacity to move documents around. All you can do is upload and or view and delete. It's not really robust as a document kind of saving platform. I prefer to use Google Docs because I've got more access to my material there than I do inside of Pathways. I am hoping that it becomes better, that they'll do something with it, but right now it is kind of anemic.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. $10.26. Cool. Any last minute questions?
This is for you or Rudy, or it was something I was intrigued by in the presentation. Would this be a good time to slip that in?
We love intrigue. Come on, Dave.
Okay. Rudy, you mentioned actually as an obstacle, I kind of made a list of the implied obstacles that we can run across. And you mentioned the obstacle of previously people coming into Toastmasters for personal development reasons, now heading into a professional. Now, ironically, I did the reverse. I came in for professional reasons, and the whole personal aspect just blossomed for me. How do you see this truly as I haven't looked at that like it's an obstacle. I have noticed that it comes about, but I wonder if somebody could speak on how it is actually an obstacle to get past, and then how do you get past this obstacle in that way?
Well, this was basically, I was sharing my personal story because I really started Toastmasters because I was working on my computer. I'm sitting at home. I'm not out about. And somebody told me, hey, in order to get more comfortable and not have brain freezes in front of people, that would be something good to try. And that was simply how I started. And I felt when this, as I said, this game Pathways started, that I would not find myself in that. It could be very much just my personal issue, but from some members in my club, I felt there were more out there who felt similar, that the Pathways approach left that kind of a little bit on the back burner. I don't think it's true anymore because, as I said, international made changes. The district is putting out much more resources and is much more engaged with the clubs, especially now with this new initiative. So I don't think it is necessarily, but I can see that the perception in someone who has been just about 4 or 5 years in Toastmasters still has that old Pathways perception. And I think it's something to think about to break through if that is the case. Might be a very small number. James, any additional?
So it's the engagement aspect that would be this potential solution, is that right? To making sure that that these members that are looking for personal development feel engaged with Pathways.
I think it's a matter of them wanting to feel like it's relevant to them personally. I speak for myself. I work in a very small office and I'm on the computer all day. So I'm a team of one because I work on my own projects. I don't have a lot of the materials that I've done in Pathways already. I've taken them as far as my job is going to go. So now I'm doing stuff for myself, like the engaging humor path was one that I just, it's like, hey, I want to do something on my own. If you can help a member find relevant link between their life and the path that they're working on, I think you will find engagement with Pathways will increase.
So the relevance is what feeds the engagement.
I think so, because I don't think anybody really wants to do something that they see no point to. Right. And that's kind of how I felt about some of those old legacy materials. Sure. That cold call or the hard sale or selling a dishwasher. I had no interaction with those whatsoever, and I hated those projects, but I had to do them to get to the DTM.
Right.
So I know there are people that find that same level of irrelevance in Pathways. And so that's that top-down question, is how to find relevance inside of this program for each member.
Would somebody write an article like that, please? And I'll put it in voices.
I like that article.
Good topic. Good topic.
I think Dave's going to do that.
Well, it is very intriguing. You have definitely wet the whistle, so to speak. Yes.
And I
Yeah,
just
Cheryl.
wanted to
Well,
Oh,
I
sorry.
just wanted to say, I think the relevance for me is the challenge.
Mhm.
I think Pathways is challenging, and I like challenges. So it's a lot of information to digest. It's going to take me a while to really understand it, but that's where the relevance comes for me, is the challenge.
Do you like crossword puzzles and tabletop puzzles as well?
Not particularly.
Oh, okay. I was just
They're
wondering
okay.
because I love problem solving, and that's one of the things that got me engaged with Pathways because there were so many problems to solve. So, okay. Sorry, Gwen, go ahead.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted, from a personal aspect, you're facing off with yourself. You, in these paths, you are facing your fears of speaking in front of a public crowd. You are facing fears of maybe even imagery of yourself and how you see yourself, and getting the evaluation. You find that what you see, others may not necessarily see. And it helps you to grow because you come outside of yourself and say, oh my goodness, I never thought of myself as already having it, which my mentor always tells me. No secret, my mentor is James Wantz. He always tells me, and has for the last year, you already have what you think you don't have.
Hey, this is Janine Johnson. So I really appreciate this discussion because I am part of a corporate club, and I've just been in Toastmasters a little over a year. So when I came into, I was really focused on giving speeches based on the work that I had to do on my desk, which was, I'm in finance. So it was like spreadsheets and numbers and PowerPoint presentations, etc.
Yeah.
But as I started reaching outside of my club, I noticed other people weren't doing that type of thing. They were like telling stories about stuff.
Yeah.
And so now I've just had to tell myself to try to find that right balance, because I could easily get through all the paths by showing a bunch of spreadsheets with numbers and giving a speech. But I'm challenging myself to be more than just a numbers person that looks at spreadsheets, and develop into telling stories and why the numbers on those spreadsheets make sense.
Yeah, absolutely, Janine. Totally. That is the crucial point. Thank you for sharing.
Well, it is 10:33, and officially 10:30 was our ending time. I want to thank everybody for being here, especially our presenters, Dr. Gwendolyn Avington, Pathways Chairs, thank you. And for our Q&A session, James Wantz, thank you very much. I hope.
Oh, and just real quick, Rudy will give me the emails of people that registered for this, and I will send a link to the slides that I used.
Yes, we will send out material. There's a recording. I think Phyllis will post it on the D7 website, so you have reference points to come back. I hope you got something out of Pathways, and have a great weekend. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Right.